All right. So mainstream media, specifically NBC News, has picked up on the story of the car attack in Elizabeth City. And so this was on May 25th. But I want to I didn't go through this yet, and I want to kind of make a segment on this. I've made a couple other segments on it, but I just want to talk about, just kind of what I view as a cover up, a little bit, I think, in my opinion. And so this is not the first. I think I've covered 2 or 3 other articles on the subject that just completely just misses several details that were very glaringly present and obvious. Most notably, that the car, yes, it hit 2 people initially, but it also hit a third person while attempting to drive away. That is not present in this article. And this article also takes police reports and presents them as fact. And that's another thing that mainstream media is horrible for. And I want to be very clear that, again, mainstream media has been working with police, just in general, since the dawn of time. Right? Look at what happened when George Floyd was killed. Right? The press ate it up. They were like, oh yeah, someone died in a medical emergency. That was their initial press release. And all the media was like, yeah, someone died of a medical emergency. I don't know who it was. Someone died. And they all printed it like it was fact. Can you believe it? They printed it like it was fact. And that's exactly what they're doing here in a different context. They're taking police statements and presenting them as fact. Right? Now, I want to remind everyone, I want to be very, very clear and remind everyone that the officer who was blocking Lisa O'Quinn, right, moved out of the way, giving her an opening after engaging in an argument with her. They moved out of the way. Officer Parr, P-A-R-R, moved out of the way, gave them the opportunity to hit people. Now, I want to remind you, as the cop was there, the lady was heard screaming, if the police weren't here, none of you would be safe. And then the cop moved out of the fucking way. And so the car that Lisa was driving hit 2 people and then hit a third person while attempting to drive away. And then while attempting to drive away, the officer was in the background watching, standing there watching, did not intervene in any capacity. He was standing there and watching, right? But I want you to, now that you know that information, and you can go look at some of my other videos on the subject, I'll link them in the description. Now that you know that information, I want to read this article, and I want you to think about what is missing from this article. What is missing from this article? A white driver was arrested after she was accused of striking 2 black women with her car during a peaceful protest over the death of Andrew Brown Jr. in North Carolina, authorities said Tuesday. The first fucking sentence. What does that end with? North Carolina authorities said Tuesday. What? What? Okay, I want you to understand. Alright? And again, I want to use the example of George Floyd because everyone's familiar with George Floyd. The media initially reported as fact that a man died of a medical emergency. That was fact in mainstream media. NBC posted it as fact. Every other local paper in Minneapolis, it was fact that unnamed, unknown man of unknown whatever died of an unknown medical situation. Right? How the fuck can you sit here and tell me, a year after George Floyd was murdered, that you are still going to be reporting what police say is fact? Right? Like, I'm sorry, but there is not a single instance where a police report should be utilized as anything other than witness testimony. And with that being said, you know how people have different categories of witnesses? Like, let's say, like, you were drunk at the time or something. Your witness testimony is a little bit less worthwhile, right? The police, their witness testimony should never be worth a fucking shit. If it's the only thing available, sure, get their statement, be very skeptical of it, right? But, again, I was there, right? Other people were there, such as Kerwin Pittman, who got the footage that they used here. We were there. Why don't they ask us what happened? Why don't they take our reports? And again, I want to be very clear. The last couple of days, every single day, I have been asking the Deputy Police Chief of Elizabeth City's Police Department, Jimmy Evans Jr., I have been asking him if Officer Parr will face any disciplinary action. He has laughed at me in my face several times for asking why a police officer who let a car hit 3 people is still on the force. That's a joke to them. And you want to know why that's a joke? Because they've already successfully manipulated the media narrative, and they know they don't need to answer that question. They know that as far as the world is concerned, Elizabeth City, they don't give a fuck about Elizabeth City. They don't give a fuck about the protesters. They don't give a fuck about what we have to say. They don't give a fuck about our safety. What they do give a fuck about is mainstream media press, so that when they try to get their promotion, because Jimmy is angling for Buffalo's job. You might not know this, but he is angling to be the chief of police. So what he wants to do is he wants to have positive media coverage and ignore anything that's even slightly negative. Right? So I want to, again, police are directly responsible. Without police intervention, this situation would have never transpired. And also, I have no idea why they're just pretending like the car didn't hit another person. I think that that's a little ridiculous. And I also know that, the third person that was hit by the car was struggling to get the police department to take their report seriously, because they figured that it wasn't that big of a deal and they weren't taking it seriously. They weren't following up with him. It's a whole thing. I don't want to go into too much paraphrasing detail, but again, I want to read some more of this. Now, again, they link Kerwin Pittman's video here of the initial contact. Lisa Michelle O'Quinn, 41, was charged with 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill by use of a motor vehicle, 1 count of careless and reckless conduct, blah, blah, blah. The incident occurred at 6:45 p.m. on Airing House and Griffin Street in the city. Police said. Police said. Why do you need that? Why not, protester on the ground whose video we're using, Kerwin Pittman said? What the fuck, what are you taking the police report for? And this is the reason why I cover this, right? The reason why I cover this is because y'all need to know that media is not on your side, right? I consider myself, at this point, I guess, an independent journalist, right? But any mainstream media, anyone with an organization, is never going to be on your side. I'm telling you this right the fuck now. Right? Local news, they don't give a fuck about you. Right? Daily Advance, they don't give a fuck about you. CNN, NBC, Fox, they don't give a fucking fuck about you. Right? You need to understand that. If you speak to them, they are going to twist your words. They are going to take only a couple sentences. If that, maybe they'll only take 1 sentence. Right? And they will just do their best to cover up what really happened. Right? And I actually gave interviews on the day of the car attack to several local media. I gave several interviews. And in each one of them, I mentioned that an officer named Parr moved out of the way and let the car hit us. You want to know how many of those publications presented the fact that Officer Parr moved out of the way? 0. From what I've seen, maybe one of them did, and I just didn't see it yet. But I gave several interviews. Some people linked me some of the interviews. 0 carried forth the message that a cop moved out of the way and let the car hit us. 0. They are more concerned with the idea of an angry vigilante Confederate racist hitting protesters on their own volition than they are with the fact that police are engaging in a cover-up of their own involvement in the situation. 0 of them have taken my witness testimony, several others' witness testimony. 0 of them have taken them. But 100% of them, all of them, have taken the police's witness testimony, which just conveniently leaves out the fact that one of their officers moved out of the way. Oops. Sorry, just forgot. Yeah, sorry guys. I know that we caused this situation. I know it's all our fault, 100% our fault. I forgot that it was our fault. Sorry, my bad. I forgot that we had been spending 34 days or not, like maybe 24 days of those 34, demanding that you use permits so that we know your routes in advance so that we can properly block off side streets. And then we did, and then the cop moved out of the way and let someone hit you after they had already engaged in an angry conversation with that cop. Sorry, forgot. I forgot about that. My bad. It's not like I have a vested interest to protect people in my gang and to lie on their behalf. No. I just forgot. What was videotaped. And it's just convenient that all mainstream media also forgot what was videotaped. Isn't that convenient? They just forgot. What's on camera? Doesn't matter. What 70 people saw witness testimony versus like 3 cops? Doesn't matter. North Carolina authorities said it. Must be true. Look at this. They said it. It must be true. A year ago, do you remember in Minneapolis when an unknown man died of an unknown medical emergency? Must be true, folks. Why would we ever re-look into that situation? George who? Don't you mean a man? That's the guy. George what? No, you're talking about a man. That's what cops said. He was a man. Why the fuck are people still listening to police? I'm sorry. This pisses me the fuck off. And I wanted to talk about that. But yeah, so I just want to be I want to be very clear that again, mainstream media is not on your side. Local news not on your side. Any newspaper, any organization that's not explicitly designed from the get-go to be on your side is not on your side, right? And honestly, at this point, I'm considering upping my game as an independent journalist, and I'm considering just doing interviews with every single protester every single day, because I don't know, you never know when something like this is going to happen. Like, no one else is going to interview people. I might just start doing that. If there's another incident, I'll get everyone's fucking witness testimony, because the cops won't. Mainstream media won't. Local news won't. Fucking our local newspaper won't. They don't give a fuck about us. All they care about is getting their paycheck and printing whatever's the easiest thing to print. And the easiest thing to print is to copy and paste the fucking police report. That's the easiest thing for them to print. So they fucking send their shit to the fucking presser, they get their fucking paycheck, and they go home and they get fucking drunk off of fucking wine coolers. Because that's the life that they fucking lead. Because they're garbage. They're trash. And they should be fucking ashamed of themselves for participating in a cover-up. The same media, by the way, that said, Andrew Womble said the shooting was justified of Andrew Brown Jr. Andrew Brown deserved to die. The vehicle's a deadly weapon, guys. Andrew Womble said so. The district attorney, Andrew Womble, he said that the vehicle that was moving at 2 miles per hour was a deadly weapon. He said so. Must be true. And now, the same authorities, maybe not the same exact people, but, the authorities, the police, are now, they didn't shoot and kill Lisa O'Quinn. They had 20, 30 cops, all with guns, cop cars with extra guns. Did they murder Lisa O'Quinn? Nah. She got arrested, put into the passenger seat. I want to remind everyone, when Lisa was arrested, she was put in the comfy SUV passenger seat. I want to remind everyone, Officer Parr said, when I asked him to do his job in the moment, when he was standing there, he said they had to protect Lisa from us. Is NBC reporting that? Is the Daily Advance reporting that the officer said that Lisa had to be protected from us? Are any of these local or, mainstream media outlets reporting that Lisa was put into the courthouse early to avoid interaction with protesters and was snuck out a back entrance? Are they going to report that? Are they going to report that she got her $40,000 bond paid off in an hour and was released in less time than USA Today journalists that were arrested the week before? Again, USA Today journalists were arrested and were in custody for several hours for reporting on police brutality. Lisa O'Quinn, someone who hit 3 protesters, not 2, 3 protesters, was only in custody for an hour and a half. Are they going to report that? Nah. They're not going to report that because they don't need to. They don't need to report that. And so that's why people like me being here on the ground and being able to have this show that can tell you what actually happened, that's why this is so important. That's why people recording on their cell phones and doing live streams is also so important. Because you never know when something like this is going to happen. And we're watching it. We have most, if not all of this on camera, and they're still covering it up. They're still covering it up. Can you believe it? Like, it's all on camera. Like, you can just go look at it. It's right there. Nah, whatever. We're just going to print out whatever the police statement said. Whatever. It's a bunch of bullshit. Bull ass motherfucking bull.